Welcome to the Season of Self-Love podcast. I am your host, Nyomi Banks, and I am thrilled to have you join me on this transformative journey. You see, every day we dive into a powerful conversation about self-discovery, healing, and empowerment. This podcast is brought to you by Ask Nyomi and Elevate Me Self-Discovery, where we believe that loving yourself is the first step to living a fulfilling life. You can expect insightful discussions, practical tips, and inspiring stories. Plus, we'll occasionally welcome special guests who will share their unique perspectives on self-love and personal growth. So get comfy, grab your favorite beverage, and let's embark on this journey together. Because it's time to embrace the beautiful person that you are. So let's elevate our lives one episode at a time. Now let's get started. All right, my beautiful people, welcome to Threshold Thursday here on the Season of Self-Love podcast. I am your host, Nyomi Banks, and I am truly, truly excited that you are tuning in today as we cross the threshold into our May theme series of nurturing relationship. So if you was with us on Monday, you know Dr. Will and I have wrapped up our April Mindfulness series with a very powerful conversation about building deeper connections through our presence. We explored on how being truthful, mindful in our interactions and creating that foundation of authentic relationship. Well, today we're building on that mindful practice as we step into our May, focusing on nurturing those connections. I'm calling this episode the healing space between us. The healing space between us. Because relationships just don't exist within us or within others. They live in that sacred space between people. And how we tend to that space with mindful awareness that determines on whether our connections will flourish or if it will wither. But this episode is a perfect bridge between our mindfulness work in April and our upcoming Monday conversation about the foundation of a healthy relationships. And because what is that foundation if not the ability to create and maintain the healing spaces between ourselves and others? So before we dive in, I want to remind you of that May is also Mental Health Awareness Month. And over at our Ask Nyomi podcast, we've just launched our special series exploring love and mental health. The connection couldn't be more clear. Our relationship directly impacts our mental well-being, and our mental health shapes on how we show up in our relationships. But for now, let's take a quick break, all right? And when we come back, we're going to ground ourselves and get into this powerful conversation. It's your girl, Goddess Nyomi Banks here on this Season of Self-Love podcast. And we'll be right back.
Join us this May for a groundbreaking series that bridges the gap between love and mental wellness. Love and Mental Health, a powerful 4-part journey exploring the intricate connection between relationships and mental well-being. Every Thursday at 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, join host Nyomi Banks alongside our resident therapist, Dr. Will Washington, health psychologist and owner of Washington Wellness Institute, who brings his expertise to all 4 powerful episodes. Each week, they're joined by remarkable specialists. Week 1, May 1st, author of God's Divine Plans for Marriage and ordained Christian minister, Krista Nicole, tackles dating while managing mental health. Week 2, May 8th, marriage and family therapist Aquila Wheatley, owner and founder of Support Advice, discusses supporting a partner with mental health challenges. Week 3, May 15th, celebrity relationship coach and intuitive energy healer Terry Christie, TV personality and author of The Secret Power of You, explores couples therapy and mental health. Week 4, May 22nd, London-based clinical psychologist and sex/intimacy coach Dr. Lori Beth Bisbay delves into generational mental health and relationships. This powerhouse lineup combines Dr. Washington's ongoing expertise with specialized insights from our weekly guests, offering you a comprehensive approach to mental health and relationships. Whether you're single, dating, or in a committed relationship, this series delivers the tools and understanding you need. Don't miss this life-changing series. Follow Ask Nyomi Bridging the Gap on your favorite podcast platform and visit AskNyomi.com to be part of the conversation. Because when it comes to love and mental health, knowledge is power. Always keep it so sexy.
Washington Wellness Institute focuses on healing always. For me, if I look good, then I feel good. If I feel good, then I share the good. If I share the good, then I celebrate the good. If I celebrate the good, then I live the good. So I can be paid to be my greatest. But I have to learn the good to be the good.
So, what does it take to be the greatest? It's as simple as a free 15-minute consultation. Be kind to yourself and heal always.
All right, remember, beautiful people, well, welcome back. I got a little tongue-tied there. So before we get into today's topic, let's ground ourselves with a mindful moment. So if you can just find a comfortable position and close your eyes. Now take a deep breath in. Now exhale gently through your mouth. Now let's repeat that one more time. And when you inhale, I want you to inhale peace and exhale tension. Now I want you to imagine a beautiful open space between you and those you love. The space isn't empty. It's filled with possibilities, with understanding and healing energy. And with each breath, I want you to see this space becoming clearer and more sacred. This is where true connection happens, where you can be fully yourself while honoring others. And I want you to notice how this space doesn't separate you from others, but actually connects you more deeply. Now take one more deep breath in, feeling this healing space expanded within you and around you. And when you are ready, gently open your eyes and carry this awareness with you, all right? All right, my beautiful people, if you are new here to the Season of Self-Love podcast, this is something we do every day, Monday through Friday, just to help ground us before we get into the topic at hand. All right, so today we're talking about the space between us, that invisible but very real connective tissue that binds us in our relationship. I've been thinking about this a lot lately, especially after the powerful conversation that I had with Dr. Will on Monday about the foundations of healthy relationship, or better yet, of mindfulness with those healthy relationships. And, you know, we often talk about and think about our relationships as being about two individuals coming together. But what if that relationships or the relationships itself is actually a third entity? What if it's this living, breathing space that exists between us that needs its own nurturing and its own attention? I remember when I first really understood this concept. So many years ago, as I was struggling in relationship, and I kept focusing on what I needed to fix about myself or what the other person needed to change. Then I was like, girl, Naomi, first of all, stop looking for yourself in others. But then I said, stop looking at you and stop looking at them and look at the space between you. And that shifted everything for me. Because in that space is where all that magic happens. And I hope I'm not losing you all. It's the communication. It's the understanding. It's the misunderstandings. It's the growth. It's the healing. That's where the relationship actually lives. So let's talk about the relational space and why it matters so much. When we enter into a relationship, whether it's romantic or friendship, family, or even professional, we create this invisible field between us. And this field carries our energy past experience, our expectations of one another, our fears, our hopes. But it's like this dynamic that's of a living entity. And just like a garden, you know, the space needs attending. It needs sunlight in the form of positive interaction, right? It needs water in the form of meaningful conversation and communication. It needs weeding when old patterns of toxicity try to show up and try to take root in that relationship. See, during Mental Illness Health Awareness Month, we're reminded on this relational space directly affects our well-being. So when that space between us and others is healthy, we feel safe, we feel seen, and we feel supported, right? But when it's cluttered with unspoken resentments and understandings or old wounds, our mental health suffers. A study I read recently showed that the quality of our relationships and one of the strongest predictors of our overall happiness and mental well-being. They are the strongest predictors of our overall happiness and mental well-being. So I want you to think about that. More than money, more than status, more than success. It's the quality of the space between us and others that determines on so much of our life satisfaction. You know that saying when you know money can't buy you love, money can't buy you. No, money can't. Money can't buy you friendship, not true friendship, not true relationship, not true. No, it can't. Now, here's something important that I want y'all to understand about. With this relational space, is that we don't enter into it as blank slates. We just don't. We bring patterns from our past. What therapists call that, they call that attachment styles, or what spiritual folks might call as soul contracts, right? So have you ever noticed how you might keep experiencing the same dynamic with different people? And maybe you always end up feeling like the caretaker, or perhaps you always feel misunderstood, or you might find yourself constantly seeking approval. That's because we bring these patterns into the rational space, often unconsciously, but it shows up. We project our past onto our present, and we see what we expect to see. Now, I'll share a personal example. For years, I kept creating relationships where I felt that I had to prove my worth, that I will overgive, overperform, and always try to show that I deserve to sit at the table or be in someone's presence. And I couldn't understand why I kept feeling drained and unseen. What I didn't realize was that I was bringing this pattern of unworthiness into the relational spaces. I was actually co-creating dynamics where I had to prove myself because that's what felt familiar to me. My past was coloring my present. You see, the healing came when I recognized this pattern and began to consciously create different kind of space. One where my worth wasn't in question, where I can show up authentically without performing. So how do we know when that space between us and someone else has become cluttered? Here are some signs that I've noticed. First, you feel drained after that interaction rather than energized. Second, you'll find yourself overthinking everything that you said or you do with this person. Third, there's a sense of walking on eggshells or performing rather than being authentic. And fourth, you notice reoccurring conflicts about the same issues with no resolution. And finally, fifth, there's either too much distance or too little, meaning either emotional withdrawal or an admissment of where boundaries blur. So when you notice these signs, that's an invitation to tend to that relational space. And that's where healing happens. See, one of the most powerful practices for creating healing spaces in our relationship is something called beginner's mind. And this comes from Zen Buddhism. It's about approaching each interaction with fresh eyes without preconception. So imagine if you can see your pattern, your friend, your family member, as if it is for the first time without all the histories and expectation? What might you notice that you've been overlooking? What beauty might you discover? What assumption might fall away? You see, this practice alone can transform the relational space, clearing away the accumulated dust of assumptions and patterns. Of another vital practice is deep listening. We talked about that the other day, about listening with the heart. And I mean really listening, not just waiting for your turn to speak, or not planning your response, and not just half listening while you scroll through your phone, but being fully present with that other person is sharing. So when someone feels truly heard, something magical happens in the relational space. Trust blooms, safety expands, and connections deepen. I had this amazing experience with Dr. Will the other day when we were recording for an upcoming show. And we had so much fun. It was just like the interaction was amazing because we truly sat in that space and we listened and understood one another because we took the time to understand what that relational space is for us. But not only for us, but we understood what it is our assignment was for one another and for our listeners as well. But also we've done the work on ourselves to understand not to bring our past experiences and relationships into this relationship. I don't know if I shared this with you before. I'm sorry, I got a little brain fog. But I remember when Dr. Will first contacted me, and we contacted on a misunderstanding, which could have hindered our growing relationship now. I remember during that moment of that interaction with us, from the very first time he emailed me to the second time, and then the third time when I finally responded, and we hopped on a Zoom call, and we was on that call for about an hour. And in that conversation, everything else that happened beforehand had washed away for me. Because now this relationship, this relational space that I'm creating with myself and Dr. Will is different from a relationship that I have with Dog Pound Mike, from one that I have with my husband, my children, my family members. Each one of them, we have a different relational space. But what it did, it allowed me to have a deeper connection with him, because now I understand what that miscommunication was with us. And I no longer have to hold that space of understanding. And why I'm sharing it now is because these were teachable moments for me, because I had to come and look at it in a different aspect. I had to remove my ego. Remember I said that before? I had to remove my ego. And now we listen to one another. Even when we have a recording date and we sit in a recording date and we might be feeling a type of way, not even on on each other, but some stuff that we would bring in a room. And we'd be like, okay, no, we're not going to film today. We're going to film another day, because we don't want to muddle our interaction. And can I be honest? That happened several times last month. When I tell you several times, Dr. Will will tell you, yes. So when we said, oh, we made it, we literally made it through April, because April was doing the thing. But we trusted and understood what our relational space looked like for us, and knew that we didn't want to muddy it up and just be there just to be there, but we wanted to make sure that we were being present with one another. Now, another vital aspect of creating a healing space in relationship is what I call healthy disclosure. This is about revealing yourself authentically while respecting both your boundaries and other persons. Too often, we either overshare or dumping our unprocessed emotions on others without considering if they have the capacity to hold it. Or we are undershared, keeping ourselves hidden behind walls of protection. You see, healthy disclosure is that sweet spot that's in between where you're genuine, but you are discerning. You share your truth in a way that builds connection, rather than creating burden or distance. This might look like saying, I'm feeling hurt by what happened, and I like to talk about it when you have space to listen, instead of either bottling up or exploding with unfiltered emotions. And finally, one of the most powerful practices for creating healing space is the repair after the conflict, because conflicts is inevitable in any relationship. It's not the conflict that determines the health of your connection, but it's how you repair afterwards. And repair looks like coming back to the table after a disagreement. It looks like taking responsibility for your part without expecting perfections from yourself or from others. It looks like choosing connections over being right. I remember a threshold moment in my own journey with this. There was someone in my life that I won't say no name, but we had a major falling out. Words were said that couldn't be unsaid. Bridges seemed to be burned beyond repair. And for months we didn't speak, but something kept tugging at my heart. And I knew that despite of the hurt, there was a connection worth salvaging. So I reached out, not with justification or expecting apologies, but simply with an invitation to create a new space between us. And I said, the past is the past. I value you. Can we start fresh? For me, that conversation wasn't easy. The conversation wasn't easy. We had to acknowledge the hurt. We had to take responsibility and make new agreements about how we wanted to show up for each other. But in doing that intentional work, we created a new relational space that was actually stronger than before. That experience taught me that no relationship is beyond healing if both people, hear me, if both people are willing to tend to the space between them with intention and love. Now, before we wrap today, I want to offer a simple but powerful exercise that you can try this week. I want you to choose one relationship where you feel the space has become cluttered or strained. It could be with a partner, a family member, or a friend, or even a colleague. And I want you to take a few minutes to write down 3 qualities that you want to bring to this relational space. Maybe it's patience, curiosity, and forgiveness. Or perhaps it's honesty, playfulness, and compassion. But whatever feels most healing for this particular connection, that's what you do. Then each day for the next week, I want you to take 5 minutes to sit in silent awareness of this relationship. I want you to visualize the space between you becoming clearer, healthier, and more vibrant with these qualities that you are intentionally bringing. This isn't about changing the other person. No, it's not. It's about shifting the energy that you're contributing to the relational field. And often that shift alone can catalyze a transformation. You can be a catalyst of not only your transformation, but theirs as well. Now, remember, my beautiful people, the space between us is a sacred ground for healing. As you tend to this space with love, your relationships will bloom in ways that you might never imagine. So tomorrow on Freedom Friday, we'll take this conversation even deeper as we explore on how your relationship with yourself creates the blueprint for all other connections. You won't want to miss it. And don't forget to check out our special Mental Health Awareness Month series over at Ask Nyomi Bridging the Gap podcast, where we were exploring the powerful intersection of love and mental wellness every Thursday this month. If this episode has resonated with you, please share it with someone who might benefit. And as always, leave a review or a comment. That I love hearing from you all and knowing how these conversations are touching your lives. So until tomorrow, I want you to remember that the space between us is a sacred ground of healing. And as I tend to this space of love, my relationship bloom. I want to thank you again for listening and joining me here on the Season of Self-Love podcast. Have an amazing day. Thank you for joining us on this journey of discovery and empowerment here at the Season of Self-Love podcast. Remember, embracing self-love is a continuous journey, and we're so glad to have you with us. So if you enjoyed today's episode, please leave us a review. And don't forget to join our community on Facebook at Season of Self-Love. Connect with like-minded individuals who are also on their self-love journey. Now, if you have any questions or topics that you'd like for us to explore, we love to hear from you. Email us at seasonofselflove@gmail.com and let your voice be heard. So until next time, take a moment for yourself today and remember, you are worthy of love, joy, and all the beautiful things that life has to offer.